Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Den. I'm your favorite cyber new type, Jared the Greek, and today we're talking about Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury Prologue. I thought this would be a nice way to do an informal kind of review / discussion about the brand new Gundam series, because as Kieran has said, mythology and giant robots go together. Granted, that was a Mazinger Z reference, but I stand by it. I'm not going to try to spoil things right up front. As for the story, I will say it is a satisfying opening. It definitely sets up a lot of things and helps give you a general idea of the stakes you're going to face. For those who haven't seen it yet, it takes place about 10 or so years prior to the main series, and we focus on the Samia family as, of course, everything goes bad. Beyond that, it's spoilers, and we'll save that for the spoiler section. As for the aesthetics, visually, I think this is really good. It is that weird mix of CG and 2D animation that I'm not a big fan of, but I feel like over the years, Sunrise has really learned how to do this right. So I'm more forgiving of it this time around. It looked good for like the large, research facility and some of the ships and things like that, and some of the mobile suits. So it looked pretty good in that regard. As for the mecha designs, I gotta say that I love these designs. When I originally saw the Gundam Aerials design, I was kind of meh on it. And shortly after the release of the Aerials design, they released the design of the main Gundam of this episode, the Lafrith, or Lubrith, depending on how you want to pronounce that, because the Japanese pronounce it different than it's spelled. I'm going to go with Lafrith. Anyway, when I saw that unit, it was like, that is like a leader unit. That's an awesome looking robot versus the more generic looking Gundam Aerial. So when that became the main mobile suit of this story, where we see the prototype versions that don't have all the funnels and stuff, or excuse me, bits, gunned bits to be precise, I thought they were so cool looking units. When you see the Lafrith fly out there and its gunned bits activate and start gunning things down, and the way they can be kind of coordinated is really cool, and I love what it looks like. It's so awesome. In addition to that, we also get introduced to an enemy unit. Their commander uses the spelling on this one, Begurbu, I think is how it's pronounced. I'm not certain, but it's a really cool looking unit. Has a brutal sword, has these cool little pod thingies that are connected to it that release a field that shorts out the gun system, giving him a huge advantage in the battle. Got a little bit into spoiler territory there, but I have to explain the robot. In addition to that, there's a couple of the generic grunt units on that side. I don't think they mentioned the name of those units in the story, but they have a very Zaku-esque look to them. I wouldn't be surprised if these end up being one of the main grunt units, or an evolved version of these are the main grunt units of the main story. Overall, these are cool looking robot designs, and having seen the toy designs for the things in the main Witch of Mercury story, I'm really, really looking forward to some really cool looking robots in this that hopefully have some really interesting combat capabilities, because some of the toys are showing melee weapons. We're getting more of that Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans type thing, where we're seeing spears and swords that are swords, not beam sabers. And frankly, I love seeing like just the legit giant spears and swords and axes. I don't know why, it just always has a cool aesthetic to me that I love. So yeah, mech designs and Prologue are awesome, and it looks to be that in the main series we're going to see some really awesome looking robots too. Insert cool robot meme. Character designs I think are generally good too, except Eri and her dad both have these huge freaking eyebrows, and I don't know, it just looks weird to me, but they're the only characters that have that tick, so I don't know. Other than that, I really like the character designs, even though no one really stood out in this, which is okay because this is just the prologue. The audio is passable. There's no real music that stood out, but it does hit the emotional beats you want to hear in the course of a show. I am looking forward to the main show where we'll get more character themes and we'll obviously get the theme and the closing and things like that. So hopefully the music will get better. Right now it's kind of so-so. We'll see what happens. As for the characters, I think they were all fairly well written. Elnora Samia is a test pilot. She's also a cyborg as she has a mechanical arm. It's part of the Gund system that helps people survive in space. So apparently there's been some sort of difficulty with humans transitioning into moving into space, which is an interesting plot point for the future. And this system allows her to connect physically into her Gundam units, and thus the Gund and Gundam connect together. Coolsies. In addition to that, you can see that she's a loving mother, a fairly resourceful woman, and generally a likable character. Her husband, Nadim Samia, is more on the business side. Though he does get to pilot a mobile suit, he doesn't seem like he is primarily a soldier. He definitely feels more like he's on the business side. He is a very caring father and helps his daughter prepare for her big 4th birthday. Yay, 4th birthday. Nothing could possibly go wrong. And then, of course, we have little Eri Samia. She is an adorable 4-year-old moppet. She isn't very annoying, which is a good thing because oftentimes children in Gundam can be very, very annoying. So seeing her and seeing her innocence played against this darker world is definitely an interesting interplay of storytelling. We are also introduced to a couple villain characters. The first is Delling Rimbrand. He is the leader of Cathedra. Their organization basically monitors mobile suit usage and development, and he's very much against the Gundams because of the damage they can do to their pilots. So he's a villain from the perspective of trying to stop the research happening with the Samia family and the various other peoples at Ocus Earth, but is a hero in his own view because he is trying to prevent machines from existing that cause the pilot harm. He'll be an interesting character when we finally get to see how he plays out in the main series. There's also another character who I hopefully got his name right, Kananji Avery. He is the ace pilot who leads the enemy forces against Ocus Earth and ends up battling against Nadim Samia and some of the other characters trying to protect the facility. We don't really get any personality for him other than he seems to be a very talented mobile suit pilot, so hopefully he'll return as maybe a general or a commander of some sort, and we'll be able to see what has become of this very skilled warrior. Overall, I give the show a recommendation. This was a very good opener. I do wish it was a little longer. There's definitely some characters I would have liked to have gotten to know more. Maybe we can get a side story manga that'll fill out things, especially with Dr. Cardo. I feel like there's a lot of story there, and we didn't really get to see much of it. In addition to that, it would be kind of nice to see maybe younger versions of the Samia family and their training in mobile suits and what led to the events of Prologue. I like the fact that I'm asking for a prequel to our prequel, but there was enough interest in those characters that I felt it'd be interesting to have that story. All right, now it's time for some spoilers. First off, the battle at the end is really cool, and we end up seeing basically everyone die. There is no pulling of punches in this. We get introduced to Wendy. I'm assuming something's going to happen with her, and just boom, killed in a brutal way. Nadim ends up sacrificing himself in a very epic way to save his wife and daughter, and that obviously was very, very emotional, very moving. In fact, the first time I watched it, I thought, oh, I'm only being emotional because it's been so hot, and I'm sweating, and I'm uncomfortable, and I'm trying to get through this. And then the second time I watched it, it was air conditioned, everything was nice, and I was like, oh wow, this is a really, really, really moving moment. And it really made me like Nadim Samia quite a bit, so much so that, as I said earlier, I'd love to see a prequel story because I want more of that character. And the fact that I can feel that way about one of the characters in the story, and this story is only a little 25-minute episode, definitely shows you that there's some good writing here, and the writers know what they're doing in terms of getting those emotional beats to the viewer. The Cathedra and the various military forces we see all seem to be controlled by mega corporations. And it looks like we're definitely going to get a very corporate espionage kind of story going on in our main series, in addition to the fact that we have several characters in that main series whose names are related to characters in this prologue, though most of those characters don't have a lot of dialogue. The one character they have been doing a lot of promotion for, of course, is Delling Rembrandt's daughter, who is blonde. There's a lot of promotional stuff about her, and I'm feeling she's going to essentially be our blonde antagonist for our main character in the series, which is an older version of Eri Samia, going under the code name of Suletta Mercury. So we're definitely going to have an interesting take on our rivalry and our characters, especially when they're in school and you can't go around just, attacking other students at your school. So I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of espionage, a lot of sneaking around to try to take down other people, and obviously we'll eventually go to a big war where the two rivals can finally, smash their robots against each other until one survives. Overall, it's really hard to do an extensive video on 25 minutes worth of footage, but there is at least a lot I can say about it. With the high quality aesthetics, the interesting storytelling, we definitely have the roots of what could make a really good series. It does feel like we're going to still get a lot of exposition in these early episodes of the main show, primarily because there's still a lot to explain of all the various corporations, what they stand for, how the world and space development has occurred because of these facilities, and of course, how we got Eri all the way over to Suletta. But since we have the kids of various people connected to Cathedra and the other rival corporations, and we have someone going into that academy with a code name, I get very strong Gundam The Origin vibes. I feel like this is going to be a story of revenge and fighting through the evil corporations that are making life difficult for the people living in space. We have a lot of room for storytelling here, a lot of interesting potential directions to take the story, and I love that. The fact that we have great characters in this prologue lets me know that the characters in the main series are going to be very well developed and hopefully very interesting and likable. Even those who are evil, you still want to have a villain you want to see on screen, not just someone who goes, oh, will someone just kill this guy already? And some Gundam series like IBO have had those characters in the, can someone just put this bad guy down? I'm sick of him. So hopefully we don't get a lot of that, but we'll see when the main series comes out. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this, and while there wasn't all that much I could spoil in this episode, I hope that you've seen the episode as well and have enjoyed this video. We're going to try to do a Den episode for every single episode of The Witch from Mercury. So there should be a lot to discuss here. And as the story progresses, as we get more reveals and more exposition, we'll be able to have more of these discussions. So thank you for joining me. And until next time, I'll see you at the tavern.